Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sandy Glaze. I'm a personal transformation and self-development coach. Today is September 27th, 2024. And once again, we are blessed with the beautiful company of Desiree Home Sharini. And Desiree, we've just had busy schedules for the last little while and haven't had a chance to connect, but we absolutely enjoy talking to each other, sharing ideas and insights. And what we were going to speak about today is the concept of being kind over being nice. So just to refresh people with who Desiree is, she's a board certified master hypnotherapist, and she's a life coach, and she's located in Washington, D.C. And so everybody knows I'm located in Ontario, Canada. But what we're going to do, like I said, talk about the concept of being nice over being kind, because right now boundaries are so important with what's happening around us. And I think we need to look at the distinction between the two. So Desiree, nice to have you here again today.
Thank you, Sandy. It's really nice to, be able to chat with
Connect.
you, catch
Yes,
up, and
you bet.
both personally and professionally like this. So,
Yes, very nice. So did you want to start and talk about what your concepts, what your thoughts are on being nice versus kindness?
yeah. Um, and I think it's kind of, like I mentioned before we started, I saw Instagram by Teal Swan saying the same thing. And I went, I think it's kind of coming, how these things come up in the consciousness of people sometimes that are paying attention. And I'm like, yeah, she's saying it too. So probably I would say more than a year ago, it's I started to think about this difference between kind and nice. And people seem to call them the same thing. Okay. Oh, be
Right.
kind, be nice, and assume it's the same thing. But there's a difference. And so I think it might have been a year ago or so, I decided on my own podcast to talk about it. And and I think I called it "Are You Being Kind or Are You Being Cruel?" And the point was, we when we don't enforce boundaries or consequences for someone who does wrong, yeah, people think it's being nice or being kind, but it might be nice. Oh, don't worry about it. But it's not kind because it allows that person to not grow as an individual, to not come up to a higher level. Um, and I'm going to give a specific example here in Washington, D.C. Uh, Several months ago, I guess now, there was a young man, 13 years old, that had been arrested or caught for multiple crimes, in particular carjacking.
Okay.
That's the age they do this now. Sorry, that's my reminder that I'm supposed to be with you. It was on snooze, so it went off again, um, and multiple times. But because he's young, he was sent home or whatever. Like there was he fell through the cracks of the corrections people. And unfortunately, it caught up with him. He did it again, and he was shot and killed by someone in he was by his victim, um,
We didn't want the
had a
car
gun.
stolen.
And the kid has a gun and says, get out of the car. And the kid, that was that. So there was truly no kindness in allowing, this is just as an example, this kid to continue to not face the consequences of his actions. It would have been kinder to have punished him or to have taught him that this, you can't keep doing this, not just for the people that he's, hurting when he does a crime, but for himself,
Right.
for himself. So that was my, that's what made me think, specifically, wow, you're not doing somebody a favor by letting them get away with stuff. And same thing in interpersonal relationships, where you just kind of keep allowing, say disrespect, unkindness, meanness. You're thinking, oh well, I want to be nice, and and it's, you're not being nice to yourself. You're not being kind to yourself or to the other person, because neither of you um, are reaching a higher level of, you know, being, frequency of mutual respect, and true kindness.
Yes, no, very good answer. I was thinking about it when you said you wanted to talk about this today, and I've been thinking about it for the last little while. But why do we put so much emphasis on being nice and kind? And I like the fact that the way you're describing it, it really doesn't have a definition. It's more of a pattern that people fall into, and it's an expectation. Oh, be nice, be kind. Well, what is kindness? What is niceness? What's the difference? How do you tell the difference between the two? How do you know which one is genuine and sincere and
Yeah.
if one is just lip service? So
Yeah, and there are a lot of nice people out there that are so nice.
right.
but but a lot of times we can tell, that that's not their sincere feeling, or they're just trying to be nice, just trying to be nice,
Right.
and going through an old pattern just for to protect themselves from taking personal responsibility for their own thoughts and feelings, and they don't want to deal with the, you know fallout that might come from not being nice. uh, it's not easy to not be nice, really. It
I
really,
think it's easier to not be nice than people think, but people don't want to get caught. They don't want that mask to slip.
mhm,
Because so why am I saying this? This has come up a few times, and I was just talking with Miles Johnson this week, and it came up again. And what we're talking about is that big smile. So when people are trying to put one over on you, and we just happen to be dealing with going to certain regional government councils and just watching everybody smile, and you
yeah,
realize how fake it is. And then we were talking about so I was talking to a friend, another circumstance where she saw somebody she knew, and she said, "Oh, she got a big smile and a hi," but she knew it was empty. So we're
yeah,
starting to see that everybody wants to put on the facade of being nice or friendly and what have you, but is there really something more to it? And sometimes it can be that you're just afraid to offend anybody, so you want to be nice to everybody, and maybe you could benefit from strengthening some boundaries in whatever capacity, whatever relationships. But sometimes there could be more there, and it's interesting because what he said about it, he said it's a form of passive aggressiveness. It really is an attack on you because they're smiling, but they really don't mean it. And they have another agenda behind the
mhm,
smile and the mask, but they give the impression that they're nice. So
yeah,
there's the flip side of it, right? There's actual genuine niceness or kindness. I like kindness over niceness.
yeah,
You can be kind. I think it has more of a heart-centered approach to it. Like you can have empathy and compassion and genuine care about other people when you're kind. When you're nice, you can be doing it for many reasons and regret it. Maybe you're programmed to be a people pleaser. So
yeah,
you're being nice, but you resent it. But you were not
yeah,
supposed to be that nice. You're supposed to be nice to yourself too.
yeah. I definitely have, you know, mostly a uh, past pattern. Something that I've struggled with is being the people pleaser and just being nice to go along, to get along, and doing things that I'm like, what? Why am I doing this? And not speaking up, not saying anything, and you know, going through the motions of being nice. But I wasn't being kind to myself while everyone else seemed to be fat and happy about it, right?
That's usually how it works because you're
And
giving
I'm
up
like,
something of yours. Yeah.
yeah, instead of drawing that, having those boundaries, saying, no, this is not okay with me. I'm not going to be doing this. And I think we've spoken before about when you do break that pattern, you do get pushback. And I
Yes.
think that's kind of where I was going in my, personally, that when you start to say no, like that's not going to work for me. Can we find something that works for both of us? And someone's used to having their way, and you just be nice, and you just do what they call nice and do it their way. So, and when it comes down to interpersonal, this could be at work, this could be, relationships. But when it comes down to that, and you start to say no, yeah, this is what I meant by it's hard to not be nice, because you have to really build up I'm okay. And I'm going to like shield, like bounce off the negativity that's going to come from the other person who is not into the whole, like, yeah, let's,
Fair play.
yeah,
They're not into that.
mutual respect, mutual kindness, and a balance. And but also, it's also how we can change our way of thinking around it. Instead of being afraid of, say, making someone unhappy or losing a friendship or whatever it is, it's almost like a clearing, you know, that if the person or the entity or whatever it is, if that's not something that they're open to with you, that they want to have parallel, everybody's happy together, then it's okay. Let it go. Let them go.
Right.
And be like, "Ooh, okay, now I don't have to pretend I'm happy about my choices, that I've been being nice to them anymore." Um, and it's like, just say no, no, yeah, no. And
And
it's
it's
fun to practice just saying no. That
it
doesn't
is
work
fun,
for
all
me.
the different ways to say no, no, no,
Yeah,
no.
no,
I'm gonna think about that one. That's a no, right?
yeah,
But and it's really interesting what you're saying because we've been taught to people please, and why this conversation is so timely from what I can see. There's so many people waking up to realize there's givers and there's takers in the world. And the
yeah,
takers aren't going to stop taking unless the givers stand up and say enough is enough. And the onus shouldn't be on the givers to do that. But unfortunately, in an imbalanced world, that is the reality. So the
yeah,
people who are always giving, it's okay to say no. But what the problem is, they have to really have a strong sense of their own emotions, their own energy, understand how they react to things. Because what I'm seeing is shame and guilt are being used on people in so many different I'm going to say levels, but I don't know what levels means, whether it's personal, whether it's work environment, whether it's community, whatever it is, but they start shaming people to do what they want. And if you've got a trigger of shame already in your body that has not been dealt with, you might go along just because your body feels that this is right and it's not right. It's not normal, but it might be typical for your response to what other people trying to push you into doing something you don't want, or like you said, they want you to do things their way. Well, maybe that doesn't work for you. There's a better way,
yeah,
so yeah, so that's what I'm seeing a lot of that right now. You can talk about it in the political front. We're seeing
yeah.
things
That
that
just
are
came to my mind. Yeah.
right. So, and we don't need to go into anything on that side of it today, but it's really interesting that if all of a sudden somebody says, yeah, I used to vote that way and I don't think I'm going to this time, but some people are getting offended by it. It's like, it's
Oh,
not
yeah.
your vote, it's their vote. Let them vote whatever way they want. Right.
Yeah. This is the day and age of being offended.
Oh,
Uh,
totally. We have
and
an anti-hate minister in Canada now. We
yeah.
it just came out. He's an anti-hate minister, and there's going to be funding available for anybody for certain. I can't remember if he called them institutions or corporations or what exactly he called them, but there's going to be funding available. So if you find that there's hate in your community, that you can set up whatever program, and we will 100% refund your money, and we will have it stacked so that you can go to different bodies and make sure you get 100% of your expenses funded, and we will even offer you security guards. So basically,
Wow.
if you stand up and say Justin Trudeau is a bit of a turdo, like they call him turdo or whatever, that could be
Yeah,
hate
that's fun.
speech. And
Yeah.
you just report that person. So it's kind of funny that so anti-hate is not kindness and it's not giving, right? It's not nice.
And I bet they don't send the security guards for the person who said that.
Exactly. He had quite the following
Like, you're
behind
being
him.
hated on for, not, liking whatever a status quo is. I need protection because people don't like what I said about, like, whatever's
Right.
going on here. And they're like, no, you hater, you're going to jail. Um,
I don't know
but
if it's that way down in the States, but that's what they're trying to do here, which means that people are waking up and they're not conforming. So they've got to come up with another layer of control. Who knows what's going to come out of it or not, but
and then call it something nice, that they're
exactly.
they're protecting niceness. And that if
They're
you're
the
not nice,
niceness police.
yeah, they're going to enforce niceness toward whatever they want to be nice. Here's an example. of the guilt and shame. I remember getting one of those, phone calls that you're not supposed to pick up. Like, you're like, what is this? A pick up, hello. And it was someone asking for money for whatever cause. And it was, hi, we're collecting money for, I forgot, but the supposed recipients were children in hospitals
Always.
or starving children or whatever. And I said, no, I don't, donate to anything on the phone. And they said, well, don't you care about children? Don't you care about these children? And I'm like, apparently not enough to give you money over the phone. I finally but they badgered me and tried to shame me and guilt me. And you don't care. You don't care about children. If you did, then you would. And I'm like, wow, gosh, I'm horrible. Yeah, you're right. Okay, we should just hang up now. Yeah. And to even have spent that much time, and then when I did realize that I was being shamed and guilted, I finally just, started to be
Just hang
snarky.
up. Yes.
Yeah. And why did I even spend the time on the phone? My dad was awesome back in the day. He would pick up the phone, and as soon as he realized it was a sales call, he would go, no, click. And he should have just given me lessons on no, click, you know. Anyway, but there's an example of how that, and even in current day, if something is some trend is moving forward. Well, we've talked about things like this before, like what's happening in schools, or what, books, or what children are being exposed to. And if you say, well, I'm not sure, I think that's good for, opinion. I don't agree with that being appropriate in school or around young children. That's my opinion. And somebody says, well, I think it's, that it's being what was it? Somebody actually said this to me, a young mom of young children, that she thought that it was a way to reduce any not the word bigotry, but to help the children be open to kindness or niceness toward this particular part of society, which are people that dress in drag and entertain children that are under a
Right.
certain age. Yeah.
I remember that you posted it and you said, see something, say something, and you posted it and got attacked.
Oh, and I got
That was
attacked.
a couple of years ago or a year ago. Yeah, I remember
Yeah, it was
that.
a couple of years ago, and I got it was see something, say something, and it was just a picture of these drag queens with little children looking totally terrified, sitting in their laps, like like what is going on here? I thought it was kind of funny, and funny, but also like not funny, and I got attacked
I
for
remember
posting
that.
that, and I said, well, I saw something I thought was strange, and I shared it, and but I wasn't being nice.
You were attacked by multiple people that you know. I was
Yeah,
amazed by the number of people who attacked you.
yeah,
I just
but
looked at
because
it through the feed.
I wasn't nice. I wasn't
Yes.
being nice. And I'm like, okay, you guys aren't being nice because
But that doesn't matter. No standard
no,
like a double standard. So
yes,
it's
very,
interesting what you said about the telemarketer on the phone about don't you care? So this is a word that's coming up a lot lately as well. So what I was going to talk about was genuine care. Words can be manipulated, and the English language has been manipulated for such a long time to mean the exact opposite. You kind of touched on that, but the words are used in a language to mean the exact opposite of what they were supposed to mean. And when you mentioned the word care, I've actually put all this out on, I typed this out today. So what is the exact opposite of what the words mean? We can see it all the time with the different marketing employees, government programs, social structures, unions. I just saw something online that a teacher got told that she had to vote a certain way in Pennsylvania. I think in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She had to vote a certain way. Her union told her, or else. So there's an example of, of
wow,
manipulating whatever the situations are. So what we're finding up here is everybody cares now. So think of care. If you don't care, you're not kind and you're not nice, is basically what they're saying. But they're using the word care as if because they can spell another 4-letter word that is genuine. So we have long-term care homes. They had care homes in
Oh,
the US or in the UK, children's care homes, right? We have daycare, we have childcare, we have caring communities. In Waterloo Region, we have growing with care. We have dental care. We have a dental program. And it says, we care about you and your well-being, providing you do as they say. Now we have
right.
caregivers. So the whole thing is we care, we care, we care. That's almost like putting that blank smile on. We
Yeah,
care, we care, we care, but you better do it my way or else.
right.
That's not
Yeah.
love.
And if you don't agree with whatever the system happens to be with that title on it, then you don't care.
You don't
Yeah,
care.
yeah.
And then that's
It's
where the
like,
shame comes in again to try to
mhm.
control, right? So I think it's really important, like we were saying at this point in time, because we're going to see even more of this going in. What have you got? 38 days before you have your big the US
Big
has
day.
its big hurrah, right?
I got
So
my
but
got my hard hat and my bunker. I'm gonna
right.
hide.
So,
Oh
but it's
God.
not going to stop there. No matter what happens, it's not going to stop there. There's going to be a lot of tomfoolery and
Oh,
games that go on about that, right? But this is just such an important topic to talk about because people tell me we need to care. We need to be more loving. Okay, well, you can be more loving, but it doesn't mean you love in on everybody in your life. You can have a loving heart and a loving energy about you, but it doesn't mean you don't lock your door at night and let anybody just come in and
yeah.
have with whatever you have, right? So it's really important that we start to see that. But I was going to say there's a genuine lack of care and empathy. So that's what I looked up the difference between kindness and care. And kindness is genuine caring, empathy, compassion, wanting what's good for yourself and others.
Yeah.
Where nice can be just you could be guilted into being nice. You could just do it because you don't want to look bad. You could, there's all kinds of reasons why you might put on that fake facade. But I was going to say it's the lack of empathy and the lack of compassion that we have in our society right now. But how did that happen? I think a lot of that came about with the survival of the fittest mentality. So they taught you in school, be competitive, get out there. It's you and nobody else. You're like you apply your way to the top. That kind of mentality that I think we're almost up against in a lot of ways because we still have that old system of
Mhm.
survival of the fittest. Be the best, be the top in your game instead of having fun and doing what you want to do while you still look after your needs and your wants. So it's just kind of interesting. I thought that was happening. So what would you consider the attributes of kindness if you had to use words other than compassion, empathy, and genuine care? What words would you use for kindness if you had to come up with some?
I think in the context of how we've just been talking about it,
Exactly.
the word courage comes to mind,
Very nice.
that it takes courage to truly be kind, to not be afraid of the, you know, reaction that or response you might get from someone when you say, I, you know, I want to be kind. Uh, I don't want to mislead you,
But we don't
by
agree.
nice. Um, and like I said, that example of lenient policies for criminals that the community, there's a community that says, oh, because this person was a particular race, perhaps, that you're not being nice.
Right. That card gets dropped all the time.
Yeah, it's crazy that, it's like if the crime was done, I think it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. Like
Yes.
if you're purple or pink or whatever, if the crime was done, then there should be an equal response to a crime. That's my opinion, and maybe it's not nice, but
But nice isn't a vow of tolerance. That's what people don't understand. You don't have to tolerate others' behavior
that bad
by being
behavior,
nice.
no.
Not at all.
And so now I've kind of even lost what you asked, but I think having the courage to
Like
go
the attributes of
against,
kindness. What are the different and another one would be honesty. So is
yeah,
honesty kind? And I sat there and I thought about what if somebody told you, what if you have a friend, it's a couple, and one of them is fooling around. I'm not going to say which one, it doesn't matter. This is hypothetical. And the other one came up to you and said, I'm really sensing my partner is not being forthwith and being loyal to me. What do you think? Would you tell them? So I thought about
probably not
that.
directly. I
I
probably wouldn't
thought
direct.
of, yeah. So is that kind to not be honest? is that nice not to be honest? So I thought about this, and what I was going to say is I think it really depends on the situation.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you really know who you are and you're centered, you can make up your mind of whether what you're going to do about it. And this happened years. This is probably, oh my God, 20, 25 or 35 years ago. And I had a roommate, and he had a girlfriend, and he got her pregnant. And then I didn't really, we weren't close or anything like that. Like, they came and went on their schedule. I did my schedule. Anyways, and I found that then he started fooling around on her. And she came in the one day and she was really upset. And she goes, is he fooling around? And she kept asking me. She probably knew I would tell her the truth. And I said, I don't know. And the next time I saw him, I said to him, I said, you tell her or I will. So I put it back to him. Was I
Right.
honest? I think I was honest. I didn't answer one way or the other, but I put it on him. This is your situation to deal with. If you don't deal with it and it keeps coming to my door, I will deal with it. And he never told her, and I ended up telling her. And then, of course, I got the blowback. And it's
Well, of
like, buddy,
course. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and that's an awkward spot to be in as the in-between person who knows a truth, who, and similarly, like you say, it depends on the situation, but
Yes.
chances are I would probably point the person in the direction of doing more investigation for themselves.
Right.
I would say, well, how do you feel? I would go into life coach mode
Right.
and say, well, how would that make things different for you, and how important is this for your relationship? Like, if he is, or
Yeah,
if
but
she
I didn't
is,
say it was him or her. In
you know
that example, it was, so it can go both ways, right?
yeah. And
Yeah.
so, like, if the person is, what would you do about it? So I would probably turn it into, like, bringing it back to the person so that they can explore, like, is this what I take it away from that external, like, valuing one way or the other, the external part. If they are or if they aren't, what's it mean to you, and how important is that in your life, and what decisions would you make? And why don't you do some more investigating, and then make your mind up about, is this something you want to try to repair if it is true, or trust, because there's nothing
There's no
as
trust there anymore.
uncomfortable as being with someone that you don't trust
Yes, I
in,
get
in an
that.
intimate relationship. If you can't trust your, best friend, your family member, your spouse, your partner, whatever, then there's already a problem. So that has to be repaired, whether or not
Or dealt
it's
with,
true.
yes. You have
Yeah.
to know where you stand. Yes.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
that's a
really,
whole, that would be a whole nother podcast,
I
that would be a
know.
whole episode, is talking about trust, and how do we, deal with when we trust or don't trust someone, and our decisions around that. Yeah. So kindness, in that mode, I guess that would be my way of being kind, is helping them to explore their own
Yes.
feelings about that relationship, rather than to say yes or no, because what value does that yes or no about that intimate relationship have to do with being kind? It could
Right.
be very hurtful for them to find out if this is something they'd like to, repair, or very, what I'm saying? It could
Right.
just make things worse for them at that moment. But I would leave them to find out for themselves and make some personal decisions.
Right.
Yeah.
And if this person wasn't a roommate and I wasn't seeing it in my house,
Yeah.
I would act differently than
Mhm.
what I said I did. I just like, you're not dropping this in my door. This is yours to deal with. You deal with it. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, but that it's an interesting paradigm to be in. So being nice and being kind. What about honesty? When are you honest? When are you not? When are you not honest because you don't want to ruin your social structure? And that's a big
Right.
one. So you've got a social fabric. So a lot of times we make excuses for people who are not nice. And that was one of the points I was wanted to talk about today. When people are not nice, why do other people make excuses for them? And they'll say, "Oh, they had a bad life," or you've never walked a mile in their shoes," or they've really been through some bad things, or they didn't mean it, or whatever. We make excuses when other people are not nice, but you're not allowed to not be nice, but we make excuses for others not being nice.
Yeah.
Right. So I
And,
find that interesting.
or kind,
Kind. Yes.
so yeah, excuses for other people not to be kind. Sometimes people aren't nice, and that's actually, maybe that's okay.
I know.
I'd rather somebody be honest and
Show us who
not
they
as
are.
and not nice, because then I know exactly who I'm dealing with, and we could, have a conversation about that. Like, Well, that wasn't very nice. Could you rephrase that in a way that feels better for me to hear? And then that shifts it to being kind, but still being honest,
Honest,
right?
yes.
And so that's always like the trick is like,
Reframing is a great tool.
saying something in a way that the other person can hear. Um, and and even then, there some people are like, no, I can't even meet you in the middle, unless it comes out the way I want it, unless it's said the way I want to hear it. And that's when you start going, well, okay. And this is, we talked about politics, for example, ideologies, and that schism. There's people like this that can have a conversation. There's people like this that will not even, no matter what, want to hear what you say. Both sides, right? Um, one side talks about being nice and loving more than maybe the other side, but they will chop your freaking head off if in a very unnice way
Right.
if you don't,
Go along.
yeah. So we talk about
what
that,
they want.
like, I'm trying to remember, like I was driving one time, as an example again, and there was this most rude driver, horrible, honking, cutting people off, flipping, and I'm like, holy crap. They passed me and they had one of those bumper stickers that said coexist with the little and I'm like, okay, yeah, I see that's working well for you, isn't it?
Maybe
So,
they bought the used car and didn't realize the bumper sticker was on the back. Like, who knows, right? But I
right.
hear you.
But yeah, there
Well,
are
that
people
brings
that,
up that brings
put on
up
the facade. Yeah.
yes. I was gonna say that brings up another point though. Could kindness be used to program people into not looking at their own behavior?
You mean
So
niceness or kindness?
sorry, I put down kindness and nice. I put them both down.
Okay.
So could that be used as a, oh, I'm a really nice person. And
Yeah, I
they,
think
so they,
niceness more than kindness, because kindness
yes,
demands honesty.
yes,
To a degree, not like faking you out to get what you want. And there's that difference too. A lot of people will
yes,
be nice to get what they want as part of their manipulation.
yes, is how they operate, right?
Whereas
So
kindness doesn't usually have an ulterior motive. It's for the highest benefit of you and the person that you are interacting with, you
yes.
know?
So
So
another question I have, if kindness is so important in our society, why are we always at war with another country? And is it kind to go into their country and blow everything up and slaughter people, steal things, and then turn around and say it's in your best interest because you have a tyrannical, whatever leader, whatever the reason is?
yeah,
And how can we sit there and say that's kind or nice when
well,
the behavior, that's the example of not looking inside? It doesn't matter if it's kindness or niceness. When you don't look inside, could those words be, oh, we're superior because we're kind and nice? And so we can say
yeah,
that by nationality as well. I'm not just going to say the US, but Canada. Oh, we're nicer than everybody else. Everybody loves us. We have the right to do this because we're kind, but the
yeah,
behaviors and the actions don't line up. So that was one I've often wondered about. How can we sit here and say how kind and nice we are when
yeah.
we
I
don't
think,
like somebody and go blow them up? I'm not talking the Ukraine either. That's a whole nother story. That's just
well,
MICKEYMOUSE.
well, I think, there's, this goes back to the niceness and the ulterior motive, and using terms like care and
Right.
nice and protection,
Yes.
and that we're the good one, and we're helping to protect from the evil bear, this poor thing. But ulterior motive, that's another deeper rabbit hole, is where's that money going, who's really benefiting from it. So once again, it's the nice facade to manipulate the public into saying, look, if you don't support this war for this particular side, then you're bad. If you don't,
Exactly.
yeah. and
You're not
and
nice.
you're not nice. Oh, these poor people were. But there's a bigger picture about, both sides. There's always two sides, right? There's always two sides.
I don't know that
And
there's always two sides, but what I find is when we start pulling off the layers, we
Yeah.
can start to see the nugget that is the truth inside, and then maybe it needs to be reevaluated at that point.
Yeah.
And when I'm looking at, so I'm looking at a lot of the bombings in that country, and they say some of the buildings they had were over 1,000 years old. So
Oh,
is this
sad.
so there's many ways to look at this. I'm not talking the human casualties. I'm just talking the structure, but how many of those buildings would have had the architecture of the old technology of the free energy in them?
Oh, yeah. And
So, and
it's like there's
there's all
multiple
kinds of,
layers.
oh, yes, totally. And then what was the other? Oh, the other one is when I'm looking at some of the maps, there's a few different websites out there that show maps of the world that you can go in and see who's going to become a 15-minute city or smart city or who's
Oh,
being
yeah.
taken over. Every major city in that country was slated to be a 15-minute city. So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, so the globalist agenda, I know they have local hubs depending on the organizations. They run it like a corporation. Like Africa will be a hub, South America will be a hub, Asia will be a hub, Europe,
Oh,
North America. So they have all these hubs, right? But they run them like corporations. But that's what I was starting to wonder with the way all these things are structured. If they're going to go in there and terraform that country, and that's going to be the hub of the world. And a lot of people are
hmm.
realizing there's a lot of Nazism. Like, where did they all
Yeah.
go after World War II? They got scattered around the world. We know there wasn't just 300 of them. There's probably more like 3,000 of them.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
is that going to be the hub of one particular organization, whether you call it the
Yeah.
New World Order, whatever you call it, in the Ukraine? And I know I was going to say this, I never thought to tell you this earlier. There's a website called 2030 districts,
Yeah.
plural.org
I was going to
backslash.
ask you to bring that up so people can go look at this themselves, that no, you're not making this up, that it is actually a document that was what, in 1995 started this plan for 2030, and that there are specifics. But yeah, go ahead.
So the one 2030districts.org backslash and put your city in. So I just sent it to a friend. He's Canadian. He moved to the US a couple of years ago and he's getting his citizenship legally. And so he went and punched in his city so he could look at it. And I show them, like I show people, I did an interview this week with somebody and I showed them how to go in and start looking at the members and start seeing who your local organizations are. And it absolutely blows my mind that local police services are on board with the 15-minute city, because now the police services, I don't know about this one in Detroit, but they all have business plans now. So when I look at the local police services, they're all partnering with academia, research, blah blah blah, but their business plan is safety for the community, protection. And then I
Safety.
can't
Yeah.
remember what the next one was. And then it went into their members, their priorities. It had 4 goals, 4 priorities were their own members, which means the police force is their priority, not the people, and their resources. Well, what are the resources? The resources are money they get from different organizations for going along and I'm going to
Right.
say, I'm going to say locking people up at whatever capacity, medically, mentally, physically, whatever that's going to
Mhm.
be, right? So it's just interesting to go into that website for anybody, 2030districts.org backslash, put your city in it in the United States, and you might be surprised to see how all this structure is coming around. But look and see how many of them are saying they're nice and they're caring.
Yes, and that's what it is. It's like this is caring for the community and being nice, but then you're like, well, wait a minute, what if this is not caring for the individual, but the community power, you know, who's really benefiting?
Structure, yes,
The
exactly.
structure or the people? And they'll frame it
Yes.
that this is to help you. Oh, and haven't we all had somebody? Now, this is where it's kind of weird because, like, is that nice or kind, or is that like, wait a minute, like, I'm only telling you this for your good.
Yes.
Like, okay, so when somebody says that, I haven't had that said to me that I can think of. Maybe a couple times, like at work or something, back in the day when I worked for someone else. And uh, long story, but somebody wanted to bring in their own people from a different office when they took over. And so everybody that was already there all of a sudden had problems, and it was
We're
like,
going to
but
see that
wait,
again.
yeah, I was like, but everything was fine for the last 4 years. And now all of a sudden, all of us that are in this office aren't good enough or have problems. and then finally I quit. And her people, she brought in her people from the old office, because she wanted her hub. But that's the short story. But and you get this like, wait a minute, this is for my own good, but it's really for her good. And there was that I'm being nice to manipulate you kind of thing, but there's a dissonance. And I think that's where
Yes.
people, for yourself, the listeners, if someone's communicating with you and acting all nice, if you get that kind of weird gut feeling, a dissonance, something doesn't feel right, then think about it. That's where you say, wait a minute, like, because your intuition knows,
Yes. If you trust
that's
it,
what, yeah, that's like when you go, okay, is there another layer to this, because I'm feeling uncomfortable with this interaction, information, whatever that's like, we're coming in to fix your city, just be quiet. And here's, like, I think of poor Lahaina. I haven't heard any more news on that, but it was very unusual, kind of like what's happening there. Um, and something you brought up, the 15-minute cities, and so that was one, apparently
example. Yeah.
example of, burn it down and put in a 15-minute city. So I'll be kind of out of curiosity going, what happened with that, right? What's
It's
going on?
interesting. We had a national park in Alberta, Jasper National Park, and it burned. And they said that the forestry wasn't cared for properly. There's a lot of dead brush that wasn't cleaned up or whatever. And they found two things afterward. They went back in one of the council meetings, and somebody said they need more land to expand the cities. That it'd be nice to have that park available. And they found out there's lithium and diamonds underneath the park. There's certain maps in Canada that you can go in and see where all the minerals are. So once you start
Wow.
to see where the minerals are, you're going to see where they're going to start mining. I think they're going to mine more of the minerals under, like the underground minerals. But this is the kind of thing. So the lithium is used for the EV batteries.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
start putting it all together. So this is where we're going to start to realize that somebody who we thought maybe was nice wasn't kind or nice. They had an agenda. So I think that's going to happen, right? So can I ask you something else? When is it not a good idea to be kind or nice?
Either one.
So you can pick either one, although we've made the
Yes.
distinction that they're separate,
Yes.
or we can do an example for both.
So when I think when it's not a good idea to be nice when it infringes on your personal rights, when you're giving up too much of yourself
Yes.
just to go along to get along, when you're giving up, either, your money, your sense of self-worth, your, whatever it might be, in order for someone or some other thing to benefit,
Yes.
and there's not that equality. When it's not a good idea to be kind. I'd have to think about that one. And again, it would all be context.
It totally is. Exactly. You deal with each
Context.
example.
There are, I kind of touched on it. When you know an entity, person, whatever it might be, well enough to know that kindness, when you've tried it before, was not accepted.
Yes.
Was not, like, they're not even going to participate in kindness, receiving it, or any mutual kindness. When you know that person or entity well enough, then sometimes it's just not a good idea to be kind anymore.
No, you just go into full boundary mode.
Yeah. And so you create your own boundary, you create your own barrier, and there are certain relationships that they may still be in your life. You may have to work there, or work, live with people or whatever, and you just choose certain areas that you withdraw kindness, you withdraw niceness, and you just don't go there. That's,
and I would
yeah.
say that we're going to see a lot of that happening as I'm going to say evil doubles down. We're going to see people who really push and are not showing kindness at all. And what I'm seeing a lot of right now is the eyes. So they tried being nice. You didn't buy into or they tried being kind. sorry, no, they tried being nice, that they tried to show you that they were somebody they weren't. And when they see that you're not buying it, now you're watching their eyes and you're
Mhm.
realizing they know. And then you realize they know, they know.
Yeah,
And then the game starts, but that's going to help dissolve the
yeah,
fabric
yeah.
is what I think, right? I was looking up the song "You've Got to Be Cruel to Be Kind." Neil? No,
Who
Nick.
be
Who wrote that
kind?
song? You got to be cruel to
I
be
don't
kind.
know. Yeah, but that's a good example
Nikhil.
sometimes.
So I'm looking at that song, and I don't know what made me think of it. And I went and I pulled up the lyrics. So it says, "Oh, I can't take another heartache. Though you say you're my friend, I'm at my wits' end. You say your love is bona fide, but that don't coincide with the things that you do. And when I asked you to be nice, you say you've got to be cruel to be kind in the right measure. Cruel to be kind, it's a very good sign. Cruel to be kind means that I love you, baby. You've got to be cruel. You've got to be cruel to be kind. So when people tell you who they are, believe them.
Yeah. And sometimes people will say, there's also a reframing to be had when somebody or tells you, they show who they are,
Mhm. Believe
and
them.
they, yeah,
Believe
and
them.
they say when somebody shows you there's that phrase, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. And then someone will show you who they are, and even though it's painful, it's a kindness that feels cool because you want the facade, you want the niceness, you want to believe that, oh, they're not really like that, are they? And then you're
And
like,
that's a mistake we make in our society to
yeah,
give people the benefit of the doubt who haven't earned it. So we
yeah,
always say trust, we have to be more trusting. No, you have to earn it,
yeah.
is more of the way. The other saying that came up, I haven't thought about this one in years. I knew somebody who told me it was selfish to give.
Huh,
And I'm okay. The look in your face is kind of the look I had. And he
huh.
told me his professors at university had told him this. And I had said I was donating to something, whatever. And he goes, "You're just being selfish." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "You're only
Okay.
donating so you feel good." There's that shame again. I should have believed him. It's selfish to give. What? I should have believed that person at the time. Doesn't matter who it is, right? But when you hear these statements, they will tell you who they are because that's part of duper's delight. They've got to show you how smart they are. So they tell
Yeah,
you it. If you don't catch on, it's your fault I did it to you. And I think
yeah.
that's also
Is that the truth? Why, I told you,
right.
it's not
And
like you
what
didn't know. Yeah,
where that came up, I've thought about that a few times, but well, you didn't stop me. Excuses for people's bad behavior. And I think what's going to happen, we're going to see just how coordinated all this global takeover is going to be at all levels of government. But I think the answer is going to be, well, you let me do it, as if it's going to be your fault, which is like a victim blaming. And it's like, no, I trusted you. You've proven you're not trustworthy. Now we're going to deal with it and remove you from that position and what have you, whatever else is going to come out of it.
yeah,
But really, really understanding that when people say certain things to you, well, you didn't stop me. That's putting the onus on you not to get hoodwinked. And if we're going to make major changes in society, we have to start earning trust again. I don't think it was always bad. When I say that, I'm sure there's pockets that are always bad, but there's always good people as well. But it's not enough to be kind or nice. If it's a genuine niceness, it's not kind, it's not good enough to be that anymore, because now we have to be astute. We have to
yeah,
understand when it's genuine, because I agree with you, the courage and the truth, that is so much more of a foundation of deciding who's kind and who's nice, who's just using the lip service. I'm a
yeah.
caregiver. I'm like the word care, and that came up again this week. Do you have you've heard of Bohemian Grove in California? It's where the
Yes, yeah, uh-huh,
okay.
yeah.
So one of the rituals they have there, you can look it up. It's called the cremation of care. And I think
Oh,
that's the ultimate slap in the face of Satan, or whatever you want, if you want to say evil, basically telling somebody how much they care about you as they put the boots to you, and whether financially, physically, emotionally, mentally, whatever way. Oh, I care about you. I think it's the ultimate insult to that loving energy that would be the God spark, whatever you want to call it, right? So it's just interesting that it's all these words are coming out. Kindness, be kind, as I try to pull your wallet out of your purse or whatever it is, right? Be kind, be
Yeah.
kind. So that's what we're hearing a lot of. So people can be shamed into going along with nonsense if they're not careful with that. But
Yeah.
I thought that was really just interesting.
Just go along, get along, and don't argue because you're not nice.
Right. Don't do as I say, you're not being nice. So no, I
Right.
think this is, do you have any other comments you wanted to add to this? I think that this is good
Oh,
what we've talked
yeah,
about, and just bring awareness to this. So don't feel obligated to be kind. Don't feel
yeah,
obligated to be nice. You know,
no.
and I say this to you all the time. You're so nice. And I'm like, we can fix that. You're so kind. We can fix that. Right. But
Well,
it's
yeah,
boundary setting is what a lot of it is. And we shouldn't have to police people not to bully us and pick on us, but maybe we do
no,
for a while until
yeah,
everybody starts taking responsibility for their own actions.
exactly. And it's so true. And a lot of stuff came in and out of my head while you were just talking. But like I said, it's kind of went back out. So, um, I think, it's just more of the same of individuals. And again, I always talk about, like, you're going to find the same representation of behaviors and interactions on the smallest one-on-one
Yes.
behaviors as you will with, even, governmental, church, uh,
Any
you know,
institution. Yeah.
society. If you don't go along with this, then you're not being nice. And individuals like, well, come on, be nice. You weren't nice to me. Um,
Or you're hurting grandma or whatever.
don't you?
Whatever the,
Oh my gosh, yeah. Remember, if you don't do this, then you're
you're killing
threatening.
grandma.
Yeah. Oh gosh, everything. It's like, okay. Well, she was old anyway, or
Those,
but
yeah, and making
you're a
excuses.
threat. Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, it's insidious.
Yes.
The use of these terms of nice and care and loving are insidious manipulative processes. And so when you hear somebody using those terms, just kind of stop. And I said, like, check in with your intuition and consider what is their motivation for using this sort of terminology about, oneness, kindness.
Right.
Uh,
Inclusive. I love that.
oh yeah,
DEI.
yeah,
Division, exclusion, and intimidation. It seems to be what it is, right?
yeah.
So it's funny. I forgot about the word respect. It's amazing that I'm glad you touched on that. We were at a council meeting, and there's some nasty stuff going on up here. And the chair of the meeting actually said, "Well, I like to deal with you in a respectful way." Well, the whole chamber of the council, the gallery, all burst out laughing. Like it was nothing had to be said other than people were laughing and looking at each other and nodding, and they could see that was happening in the room. So then they
Yeah,
know we're not buying anymore. And so we're being kind to them to let them know we're onto their games and we're not buying it anymore. So now it's time for you to take responsibility, right? But
yeah.
that was funny. So Desiree, where can people find you? And I want to stress that we're talking a lot about boundaries. Desiree and I are both life coaches. If you want to practice more about boundaries, learn more about boundaries, practice setting them for yourself, and just even have a sounding board of when it's a good time to set them, or are you even in your right to set them? Because sometimes people don't even know they have the right to set them. By all
Yeah.
means, give one of us a call. So Desiree, where can they find you?
My website is www.transhypnotherapy.com. That's trans like transformational. Um, Transpersonal is really what that was for, because I'm a transpersonal hypnotherapist. And so all one word, trans hypnotherapy. And you can find all my details there. I work virtually much more now than actually in person. So yeah, anywhere in the world, if you want to find more information about what I do, you can find it there.
Excellent. And if we'll talk again, I'll get you to send me your link and I'll include that in the description box so people can find you directly. And my information is always in my description box as well. So we hope everybody found this helpful today. Desiree, always a pleasure talking. I'm glad we got a chance to hook up again, and looking forward to doing some more videos together.
Thanks. Yeah, me too. It's great to be with you again.
Yes, thank you. Take care. Take care, everybody.